Hey guy, how are you all beautiful people are doing? Hope all of you are doing fine, and yes, this is the next season of creating Naruto comics in Naruto world. Akaban was graduated from the University of Arts and Design in the 21st century, then suddenly traversed into the Naruto's world. By bringing my knowledge of arts and my love of Naruto comic, I decided to recreate Naruto comic here. So let's start without any delay. In fact, in the anime, Danza and the two elder consultants did nothing wrong with their decision. In the face of the aggressive Akatsuki organization, Konoha is almost over, and it is the safest way to save strength and avoid the Kyuubi Jinchuriki from being caught. However, no one thought that pain could be so powerful. He almost wiped out the entire Konoha alone. It was estimated that if Naruto did not appear, only Danza's group would survive with the other remaining ninjas that were alive. Perhaps Danza's dream would come true at that time. This is something Akaban doesn't quite understand. After all, it's people-oriented in the Naruto world, and it is easy to run a village if your strength is high, but those people will definitely become cannon fodders. Just like now. In the unlikely event that Madara and Black Zetsu attacked, Akaban, Uzumaki Maito, and Danza's Anbu would all save their strength, and the remaining Konoha ninja would definitely be slaughtered. Akaban feels that there is no right or wrong about this thing, it can only be said that everyone has their own considerations. It was almost night, and he wasn't planning to work overtime at this time, just came here to sort out his thoughts, and it would be easier to get started when he returned tomorrow. Particularly about Mitokado Homura and Danza. In any case, if Danza is still alive in the comic, he is a very powerful powerhouse, and it is unreasonable not to do anything when the village is about to be destroyed. As for Mitokado Homura's opinion, at this moment, I am afraid that no one will care about his opinion, because he himself is staying in the prison of Anbu to reflect. Because he has a former consultant elder on his name, no one dares to do anything to him, but in his current situation, he has basically lost the privilege of being a consultant, and all he can get is this kind of preferential treatment. Who told him to operate the route? Besides, it seems that Maito Uzumaki personally spoke about this matter, and before Uzumaki Maito said that they could release him, no one dared to release him, even the Hokage himself. The next day, when Akaban got up, the update of the 5 chapters had been sent to Konoha. After technical reform and scale expansion, the mere 5 chapters could be completed in a short time. As Akaban expected, the impact of these 5 chapters was not great. It's just that many people marvel at the existence of nature chakra, but they are limited to this. Just from the comics, you know that most readers have nothing to do with this stuff. On Akaban's side, the exchange list has more exchanges in Sage mode. The exchange requires not too many points, only more than 3,000. Different Sage regions use natural energy differently, and the effects and the use of Senjutsu chakra are also slightly different. The one who has the highest probability on the list is Mount Myoboku. But this is not necessarily true. The Sage of 6 Path Sage mode is also from Mount Myoboku. The Sage mode of Sage of 6 Paths has no special changes, while Jiraiya's version is ugly, especially in the eye. From this perspective, the degree of change should be related to the mastery of the Sage mode. But he is relying on his system for mastery, and what his system generated are all to be trusted. Akaban thought for a long time and did not immediately decide to redeem the Sage mode, but temporarily put the Sage mode as the first priority of exchange. It's because there are not many points on his panel. The war is approaching, and his point income has been greatly reduced. In addition, Akaban's current updates have slowed down, and his daily income is only more than 7,000, which is a huge difference compared to the previous 10,000. Although he had collected more than 30,000, he had the 30,000 to exchange for Bat Devil fruit. Even though he himself was very strong, he still had no confidence in defeating Uchiha Madara one by one. Besides, why do you have to fight a monster in a one-on-one fight when you can use a group fight? What about morals? Can you eat that? Akaban doesn't have the slightest psychological burden. He doesn't care about his morals, but only cares if he can survive. It's only been more than 10 years since his new life, and he doesn't want to end his short life by fighting Madara. One thing that a fool can do. After Akaban got up, he moved a bit. The ninjutsu scroll was handed over to the third Hokage yesterday, so he has no work to do today, so he can go directly to the comic shop. There are still 4 clones left in the comic shop. Each shadow clone is enough to last 6 or 7 hours and can work until the evening, provided that the clones can work all the time and will not fall into laziness. But obviously, this is unlikely. As Akaban's hand speeds up, the clones will also find time to laze around, so the 4 clones will almost complete the task he assigned to them in the afternoon. Today's task: 10 chapters for Naruto, and also 10 chapters for One Piece. The One Piece side has officially arrived at Judicial Island. Luffy and the others have landed on Judicial Island and have officially fought with the people on Judicial Island. This article is quite exciting, at least Akaban thinks so. But it's only wonderful if you are a reader, but as the artist, painting that crowds of people are simply tortured, and Akaban does not want to do such a troublesome thing. So, he passed it decisively to the clone. There is no sense of accomplishment in Akaban's dictionary. As long as he is comfortable, even if the fatigue of the clone accumulates on himself, he wouldn't care. He sat down and began to draw Naruto. The 10 chapters of Naruto are divided into 3 parts. One is Naruto continuing to train the Sage Mode, the second is Sasuke vs. Killer Bee, and the last part is Pain's arrival in Konoha. And what Akaban did was the few chapters of Pain's appearance. It sounds like a lot of them, but in fact, there are only 3 chapters. The content of the 3 chapters is not too much, so he quickly completed more than half. Just as he was about to finish painting in one breath, Akaban heard someone ask outside. "Brother Yunlane, is Akaban back?" "Shimmy. Why is he here? Isn't he on the guard side?" "I'm here." Akaban stuck his head out and shouted. If this child is willing to be his helper, he will be the leader of his subordinates in the future, so he must not be neglected. "Oh Tilda, you're working, it's really hard work," Shimmy said lazily, then picked up a copy of the latest update on the store, then walked in, and saw 5 identical people that made him stunned, but he quickly reacted. He glanced at the comics, and without hesitation, he sat down next to the one with the least manuscript and said, "Akaban, I thought about your proposal for a long time, and I agreed, but, in addition to helping with my work, I hope you can help me." "Help you?" Akaban doesn't understand. Shimmy is like a Buddhist, and he doesn't have much enthusiasm for the pursuit of strength. So it should not be the aspect of strength. He thought for a moment, if it's not strength, it should be family. The Nara clan. "I talked to my father, if I agree to your invitation, I will basically have no relationship with the patriarch, and I will have to pay some price," Shimmy explained. The position of the head of the patriarch has a lot to do with it. People in the reserve department belong to the logistics department. Although this is in line with Shimmy's expectations, It obviously does not meet his father's expectations. Who doesn't expect his son to become a dragon? What's more, Shimi's father is the patriarch of Nara. Help you seize the position of patriarch. No, it should be. Akaban had some doubts. This is not Shimi's style. How could this guy care about the position of the patriarch with his personality? No, my father is still young, and there is nothing wrong with him being the patriarch for 30 years. I mean, I will have a younger brother in the future, and I hope you can accept him as a disciple. Shimi quickly denied and explained. Being a patriarch or something, after finally getting rid of it, of course, he didn't want to take it back. Akaban, hearing it, nodded his head in understanding. It turned out to be for me to accept a disciple. Teaching apprentices is very tiring, but he likes the former more than bringing a bunch of apprentices, so no problem. Akaban agreed without hesitation. All right. Shimi stretched his waist and leaned against the wall to flip through the comics. He quickly finished reading and closed the comic books and went out. Not long after Shimi left, Akaban finished the 3 chapters at hand. He has not yet painted the part of Danza's appearance, but since his clones will do the rest, he did not continue to paint. Originally, Akaban was going to paint the cover, but this time an unexpected guest came to the door. It's the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Meizazu. Before the change, with Hyuga Meizazu arrogance, Akaban must go to see him instead of him visiting Akaban in person. But today is different from the past. Akaban's status and strength are not comparable to before, and he obviously wanted to talk to Akaban this time, so he came personally. The comic shop has many eyes and is not suitable for conversation. Akaban found a reason, so he pushed the remaining work to his clones, and went out to chat with Hyuga Meizazu. Hyuga Meizazu was very cautious. After walking for a while, he activated his Bakugan. After making sure that there was no one around, he sighed and said, Akaban, the Hyuga clan had some misunderstandings with you earlier. I hope you don't misunderstand. Uncle Meizazu must be joking. My Kurama clan has been with the Hyuga clan for generations, so how can we rest assured of trivial matters? Akaban quickly denied it. I believe it, but, in your comics, the Hyuga clan hasn't really appeared on the stage for quite a while. Hyuga Meizazu vaguely expressed his dissatisfaction. Most of the story is on Uchiha, and the Hyuga clan, as also one of the Konoha great clan, has basically no appearance rate. The most recent appearance is Hinata Hyuga. But what did Hinata do when she appeared? She activated her Bakugan, and then it was gone. She didn't even fight. Of course, he doesn't care about comics. The problem is that comics become so popular that they will affect reality. The story of Itachi was exposed, and Uchiha's popularity in the village has obviously improved a lot, and the Hyuga clan feels tremendous pressure. Although the Hyuga clan don't have to fight Uchiha right now, the people from Hyuga don't want the villagers to feel that Sharingan is good but their Bakugan is useless. So this is what you have been worrying too much about. I know the power of the Bakugan and know how powerful it is. So don't worry, the story behind the Hyuga clan will definitely increase. Akaban patted his chest and promised. Although not much, in the second half, Hinata's identity as the heroine was gradually established, which led to the role of the Hyuga clan gradually increasing. Of course. What he said was not a lie, because after a while in the plot, the Bakugan will show its true dominance, but of course, it's not because of the Hyuga clan, but because of a certain rabbit princess. Bakugan has a lot of abilities, not only for reconnaissance and its gentle fist but also for seeing through genjutsu. Meizuzu Hyuga talked about it. Clan information about Bakugan is definitely not available. There are still differences between Hyuga and Uchiha. There are some things Uchiha can do and they can't. However, Hyuga is already different from their past, and it does not matter to reveal some general functions of their eyes. His starting point is good, and he hopes that through public opinion, Hyuga's reputation will also increase. Akaban listened quietly, feeling very embarrassed. There is really nothing about the Hyuga clan in the main plot. It's not that they are indifferent, but their Hyuga clan is just a division. Of course. It is not without reason that the Hyuga clan can become the great clan of Konoha and Uchiha's rival for no reason. They may not have as many top combat powers as Uchiha, but they are quite powerful among the middle and upper class. It can only be said that their eye ability is not as strong as Uchiha. After thinking about it, Akaban could only add a movie version to the Hyuga clan. The movie version is a good choice. Bakugan's most dramatic theatrical version is undoubtedly the Chunin exams where Hyuga Neji became Jonin. But, if you make a request, you have to do something good. Meizuzu Hyuga understands this very well. After talking about the functions, he finally said, as long as there are more Hyuga scenes in the comics, the benefits will not be less for me. Money and book collection, as long as you need it, we can talk about it. The Hyuga clan has been passed down for many years and there must be some books in the clan. However, when Tsunade studied medical ninjutsu last time, the Hyuga clan's collection of internal organs was almost read, which is not worth considering. Therefore, Akaban thought for a while and then said, there are some ninjas from the Hyuga clan who are more suitable for medical ninjas. I hope that the Hyuga clan can draw some people out to participate in medical classes. What? Meizuzu Hyuga didn't believe it. What kind of condition is this? Even if Akaban didn't say that, if their clan had talents who were qualified to practice medical skills, they would definitely agree to the clan members to participate and research. After all, for a large family, it is best to be involved in any aspect, and the medical class is undoubtedly a very important area of power in the future. But he didn't think Akaban was so selfless, far beyond his cognition. It's compensation for the last time you let Tsunade borrow books. Akaban shrugged. It's not a big deal for him anyway, and even if the extra chapter is drawn, it will not help the Hyuga clan much. If the price is too high. What if the Hyuga clan is not satisfied with the result? He is not pursuing land deeds or money, and he doesn't need the so-called benefits of the Hyuga clan. If he didn't want to have a stalemate with the Hyuga clan, he wouldn't even bother to pay attention to his proposal and just paint as much as he wanted. Meizuzu Hyuga's face was calm and then left steadily as an old dog. On the surface, it is so. If he is really as stable as an old dog, Meizuzu Hyuga will not come to him in person. The comics' focus on Uchiha has led to Uchiha's increasing reputation in the village, and he feels a strong sense of crisis. This is just an episode. Akaban had dealt with Hyuga, and he was planning to go out for a walk, but now that he looks at it, going off for a walk is probably impossible. Yes, go back and continue painting. No need to think about the goal. Even in the comics, the only card of the entire Hyuga clan is only Neji Hyuga. He was busy drawing, but on the other side, the cursed seal caused huge waves. The cursed seal is an alternative sage mode. On this point, Orochimaru had already testified it through research, but what Konoha lacks now is this kind of ability. Only sage mode and taijutsu can effectively harm Madara. and training Taijutsu is out of the question for him. Unless they have the kind of perverted willpower to train to open more than 6 gates of the 8 gates, then don't bother training Taijutsu. That's why Konoha almost fully supports Orochimaru's research on the curse seal. The next day, early in the morning, there was a sudden knock on the windows of Ikeban's room. It's a little summoned snake of Orochimaru that sent the message on his behalf, who just woke Ikeban in his sleep. Orochimaru hoped Ikeban could go to the research institute to help him study the power of the cursed seal in order to prevent Ikeban from being lazy, so he specially used a very serious tone. Ikeban had to get up and go to the research institute. There is flying thunder god jutsu, so he doesn't have to hurry, but for a lazy person like him, to be interrupted outside working hours is hard to tolerate. Especially now this time. Have you seen Konoha workers at 4 o'clock in the morning? I have seen it. Just today. But although dissatisfied, he didn't have a choice since it's him who started it all, so after washing, he used Flying Thunder God Jutsu to come to the research institute. There are a lot of Anbu around, but Ikeban is now the second in command of Anbu, and no one dares to stop him here. Danza efficiency is quite high, and the laboratory that was originally part of the Anbu is empty. The research has obviously ended, and he was sent to the front line to participate in the battle against Sand Village. Looking at Orochimaru laboratory, he saw him sitting on a chair with the curse seal on the front. Asking me to come over early in the morning, is there any result of the research? Ikeban asked listlessly. Although he didn't feel too sleepy due to his mental power, he still felt that his body was not comfortable enough. After all, he usually sleeps until noon. Orochimaru was silent for a while, then shook his head and said, "There is no result at all, so please help. The curse is related to Konoha's survival. Don't believe the teacher and others. How can it be so serious? There is still a tall roof when the sky falls." Ikeban didn't feel embarrassed to complain about getting up early. Regardless of the eye circles or his complexion, Orochimaru is 1 or 2 times worse than him. He complained again, but after talking nonsense, he offered comfort and reassurance at his friend's concern. He has already got the Rinnegan. So although it's not as strong as Madara's Rinnegan, he wouldn't die easily unlike before. Also, Uzumaki Mito is still alive and it wouldn't take long for her to return to her peak, so he wasn't worried at all. But these can't be said to Orochimaru. So, Ikeban began to study with Orochimaru, but the real question is, can he help him with his research? He would not be an art student in his previous life if he had this talent. After working hard and pretending to study for more than a long time, he pretends he will ask someone and come back to the comic shop in a flash, and then exchange Orochimaru's cursed seal technique. Not surprisingly, the curse mark appeared, followed by a pile of memories. Ikeban does not need the curse mark. Fortunately, his mental power is strong, and with the Rinnegan and the power of thunder, he quickly squeezed the curse mark out of his body. The curse mark was gone, but the memory was still there. This is the most important thing. Then he sent a clone to help Orochimaru research and went back to sleep on his own. After spending points to exchange data, can't the body still have to work overtime? During the day, Ikeban hadn't regained consciousness. Since he was disturbed from his sleep, I guess he might not be able to get up until noon, but after the comics were shipped to Konoha, many people have already started reading them as soon as possible. However, there are a lot of updates today. 10 chapters of Naruto. 10 chapters of One Piece. And also a special volume of Neji Hyuga. With 3 volumes being updated at the same time. All of a sudden, the small tea hall was full of readers. The reason for gathering here is really because the plot is too hot today. Sasuke defeats a Jinchuriki and brings Killer Bee to Akatsuki. Naruto learned Sage Mode. Pain attacked Konoha head-on, just to find out the whereabouts of Uzumaki Naruto. The three plots are very exciting, but everyone is most concerned about the third point. Of how the 6 paths of pain attacking Konoha. Konoha is the home of everyone. Since the establishment of Konoha, no other Shinobi village has been able to reach Konoha, but in the comic, Pain did it first, and it was just a team of people, which made everyone feel as if they had the strength of a country. Rinnegan is too strong. Because of this, everyone is more and more looking forward to the plot and hope to see Konoha's strong players beat Pain to the ground so that Pain will know that Konoha is definitely not something they can set their eyes on. But the terrible thing is, when they reach the most critical moment, it's the end of the update. It feels like serving them a plate of delicious food. They just ate some side dishes, but the store came over and brought the dishes back. But no one really takes it to heart. Anyway, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, they can still see it, but how it ends still made all the readers can't wait to bring a knife to the door to pull Akaban out of his house to draw the next plot. But they just thought of it in their heart and wouldn't dare to do it. Because now in Konoha, apart from some civilians, who doesn't know Akaban's strength? So without choice, the readers could only look for the other comics, looking for a sense of comfort from there. And Meizazu Hyuga is also in this table. Of course, he used the transformation technique to disguise and change, so as not to make people think that he, the patriarch of the clan, especially read comics about the plot of the Hyuga clan. Actually, when the other readers were reading the main plot, he had already finished reading the special chapters. At this time, he had no intention of reading the other comic and secretly observed the reaction of other readers when they read these special chapters. But the result disappointed him and even made him doubt life. Everyone can't help but admire Neji's talent and are shocked at his ability. They are shocked by the abilities of Bakugan and Gentle Fist, but the words "unfortunately he is from Branch House" are mentioned the most by these readers. It's a pity. Yes, why is such a talented person, a genius who appeared in hundreds of years, why is he the discipline of Branch House? Meizazu Hyuga wants to tell the truth, but the truth often hurts. The system of clan Main and the Branch family has been passed down from the source of Hyuga to the present day and has never been cut off. Some time ago, the Hyuga clan underwent tremendous changes. All people except the patriarch and heirs have become Branch family, and Meizazu Hyuga is now like the Earth Emperor. Hearing these words, Meizazu's mood at the moment can be imagined. The follow-up content was basically the same. He didn't continue to listen. It would be embarrassing to stay here if he was caught by other readers, and he would not have a good reputation for the Hyuga clan. So he chose to leave. Along the way, Meizazu Hyuga kept thinking about what the other was saying in his mind. A pity, he is from a Branch family. Neji's self-developed revolving heaven and 8 trigrams 64 palms have actually been recorded in Main House, but they are not open to Branch House. If he was given a chance to study these and master more secrets of the clan, then when he took the first Chunin exam, his strength was much stronger than now. Is the family system wrong? Meizazu Hyuga fell into confusion. Unknowingly, he went outside Meizazu's house. It has been a long time since he split up with his brother. This time he didn't even know why he was here. By coincidence, Meizazu Hyuga walked out of the door and was stunned for a long time when he saw Meizazu. Then, the two brothers sat down in the yard, and Meizazu gave the extra book to his brother. After reading it, Meizazu fell silent. As a person from the branch family, who is willing to do this? But this is their fate. He couldn't guess his brother's mind, so he didn't speak immediately, but kept silent. Meizazu Hyuga looked around the house. A few days ago, his brother's child was also born, more than half a year later than Hayashi and Hisashi. At this time, the child was very cute and did not have a caged bird. These are the future of the family. He was silent for a long time, and then, as if he had made a decision, he said with resolution, "I want to change the family system and completely eliminate the division of our family." "Are you serious?" Meizazu Hyuga was surprised and a little bit unbelievable. It would be completely useless for Meizazu Hyuga to do so, because by eliminating the division of the clan, no one needs to die for the clan. "Of course I'm serious, but it is definitely not enough to change the ancient system by a generation, but we can change it slowly, starting with our children," Meizazu Hyuga said as he looked at the children in the house with soft eyes. Meizazu Hyuga's thoughts are unknown to Akaban, and he is not interested in knowing. However, neutrally speaking, the Hyuga clan can be inherited forever, and it has nothing to do with the caged bird. Without the caged bird, the Hyuga clan might be killed like the Uzumaki clan. This is an advantage. But there are also disadvantages. First, the caged bird restricts the talent of the branch family, and the clan secret technique non-sharing policy restricts the development of the genius from the branch family. Of course, their clan policy has been loosened after a big disturbance some time ago. Second, the flowers in the greenhouse cannot withstand wind and rain, and it is difficult for a family who is too comfortable to produce true genius. The genius here refers to top ninjas above the Kage level. It is worth mentioning that after the update, Akaban's exchange list has an extra ability. Call the Seven Heavens breathing method. This is Shura's own taijutsu art. According to Neji, it's a nerfed version of the 8 gates, which can greatly increase the user's own strength, but Akaban is very aware of its side effects. Any power has a price, and the same is true for the Seven Heavens breathing method. Its essence is to breathe more air, enhance the redox of body cells, and enhance physical activity to strengthen various abilities. Cells have a limit on the number of divisions, and this means that as the number of times increases, the body's aging rate will increase. Akaban is not interested in practicing it, but not everyone in the taijutsu class is not suitable for practicing the 8 inner gates. Although the side effects are dangerous, it wouldn't mean it can't be used. Most importantly, this stuff is not expensive. Of course, this is relative to his current income. If he had to redeem it with this amount of points the previous day, he was reluctant to redeem it. Anyway, it only needed more than 2,000, so he redeemed it without hesitation. In addition, he also redeems the 8 inner gates by the way. The 8 inner gates was for himself. The gate of death, he wouldn't open it in his lifetime no matter how dangerous life gets, because it is instant death for him. But opening the 6 gates with his current physique will not be too stressful at all. As for the physical injuries, isn't there a creation rebirth? Although opening the 8 inner gates tears the body, creation rebirth can quickly recover any injury, and the short-term opening of the 8 inner gates is not a big problem for him. After Akaban got up, he went out to finish today's work. Leaving his clone as usual, but because there is a clone to help Orochimaru research, he has only 3 clones in the comic shop today. Originally, he intended to work together. But before they started to work, the third Hokage sent Anbu to the comic shop to let Akaban go there. With no other choice, Akaban had no choice but to go to the Hokage building. Of course, he was quite happy in his heart. After all, this is a good reason. His clones can't blame him for not working, but they can only blame the third Hokage. In Hiruzen's sitting position, his expression is very sad. Hokage-sama, come in and move the stool yourself. Hiruzen was a little impatient. During this time, his hair loss started again, and the hairline of his forehead had obviously moved up a bit. However, Akaban threw the curse mark proposal, but it didn't take long for him to throw another problem for him that made him lose more hair. When Akaban sat down, he asked in a questioning tone, "Pain invades the Konoha, and you draw it. If Madara sees it, wouldn't he adopt this strategy to attack the Konoha? What will we do if that happens?" "My lord, there is a distance limit for transmitting chakra, and when his chakra is divided, Madara's main body will be much weaker. Madara will not be so stupid to do that. If he does that, then it's our turn to be happy." Akaban couldn't help but smile. If Madara really copied Pain's method of controlling puppets, then it's Uzumaki Maito's sealing jutsu time to shine. I hope so. It's not weird for Hiruzen not to be worried, because not only is it Madara, but also the appearance of the Rinnegan that appeared for the first time in 1,000 years except for the Sage of Six Paths. No one knew how to deal with it. And only Akaban had such experience and understanding after 1 or 2 fights. Seeing that Akaban is so confident now, he can only believe it. But not only did he have a headache from these things, but also some people in a certain cave in Land of Wind. Madara and Black Zetsu. After reading the comic in hand, Madara couldn't help but stare at the black stick he created just yesterday. This is a creation he created by studying Rinnegan. After a day of research, he discovered many useful functions. But before he couldn't experiment with it, it already appeared in the comic. Although Six Paths of Pain's appearance is very early, Madara is still a bit depressed and feels like he is seen by Akaban. This feeling is very uncomfortable. Although he drew these, but I have an idea, with your strength, it is not difficult to do these, and I know that the Rinnegan have the ability to control repulsion. Black Zetsu began to enthrall him. He knew that Madara hated Konoha, and if he could let Madara go to Konoha and destroy a group of ninjas, the rest of the ninja village would inevitably attack him. Madara glanced at him and didn't say a word, but the meaning was already clear. How can he trick him? Black Zetsu chuckled and said, "It's a bit early to talk about Konoha now. Hump, you have a bit of truth, but Maito's lifespan is about to end. So instead of fighting her, it's better to wait for her to die." Madara said coldly and then retracted the black stick in his hand. Since the specific role is exposed, it is unnecessary. But in his heart, he somewhat hated the old sage toad of Mount Myoboku. Without that old fellow, Konoha wouldn't know so much about Rinnegan, and it wouldn't take so much trouble to solve it. In addition, this sage mode. If that gang of toads helped Konoha train the sage mode, it would be really difficult for him to look back. After all, he had indeed learned the sage mode and it was very difficult to deal with. Thinking of this, he even wanted to destroy Mount Myoboku. Black Zetsu felt Madara's irritability, and he was tentatively seen through by Madara, so he dared not speak at this moment. He remained silent and submitted the One Piece update by the way. Since he didn't read it for a while, the volume of this batch is quite large. Madara took a good look. Although this part of the comics can't effectively improve his strength, it's pretty good just to pass the time. Anyway, being idle is fine. Not only Madara and Black Zetsu but also in the Land of Lightning, in the Hidden Cloud Village, Anbu sends comics to Raikage. After the second Raikage's burial battle, third Raikage took office. This generation of Raikage has been in office for a long time, but his strength is very terrifying. He is a terrifying existence that can rival the tail beast. He is strong and his brain is not bad, but he only noticed the Naruto comics only recently. Lord Raikage, over here. They didn't read the previous plot, but when they saw their Jinchuriki being defeated, they refused to accept it and were quite enraged. Their Jinchuriki is the treasure of their village, so how could it be so easily defeated? They are looking down on them too much. In addition to Naruto, there is also the story of One Piece's Sky Island. That section must allude to their Hidden Cloud Village. Well, at least the Anbu feels that way. When a Saw Killer Bee, who can perfectly control the 8 tails in the comic, how did he think it was Konoha mocking Hidden Cloud Village for failing to keep their tailed beast control? He watched it again, and then said contemptuously and angrily, if Konoha didn't have the Uzumaki clan, how could they be so comfortable now, TSK? The Hidden Cloud Village is very strong, so they own 2-tailed beasts. 2 tails Matatabi, 8 tails Jayuki. These 2-tailed beasts are very strong, especially the 8 tails. Among the 9-tailed beasts, it is second only to the 9-tailed beasts. It is very powerful and extremely destructive. Compared with Konoha, Hidden Cloud Village is more in number. However, it didn't mean they could threaten Konoha. Although they have the same powerful tailed beast, the sealing jutsu of Hidden Cloud Village is too low level compared to Konoha, and there is no such thing as Uzumaki clan, which can stabilize the 8 tails. As a result, the 8-tailed beast in the Hidden Cloud Village went rampage several times, often destroying the village. Not to mention, its Jinchuriki is also in great danger, and basically, it needs to be changed every few times. And those are all the elites of the village. However, at this moment, my lord, it's not good. The 8-tailed beast is on berserk again, and is now wreaking havoc on the village. An Anbu reported quickly. What's the situation? I stared at the comic in his hand, and the veins on his forehead jumped wildly. This was only drawn in the comic. But as a result, the 8-tailed beast was in berserk. I don't know, but I heard that the 8 tails Jinchuriki has read the comic recently. The Anbu said, and when he saw the book in A's hand, he hesitated for a while and said, it's very similar to the one in your hand, my lord. But it's not the same book. Damn those Konoha. Immediately arrange for someone to transfer. I roared, and then quickly left the building and rushed to the location of 8 tails berserk. He also read the comics. There are some thoughts about Jinchuriki, which is a poison to some Jinchuriki. Getting along well. Hell, the harmony. He knew that all the tailed beasts were not willing to befriend humans who caged them. When he ran outside, he saw the smoke and dust in the west of the village, and a huge tail beast was wantonly destroying surrounding buildings. It's completely on its berserk mode. Aside in melancholy. With the current situation of the Jinchuriki, he couldn't control it, so even if he suppressed the 8-tailed, the Jinchuriki would die. So they have to choose another person to become a Jinchuriki. He hated Konoha more in his heart. How could this kind of thing happen if it weren't for this comic? Of course. He was also thinking about another family, that is, the Uzumaki family. Although the land of Uzumaki was destroyed, they did not get the secret sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. Most of them were some superficial and simple sealing techniques. If they can get the secret sealing jutsu of the Uzumaki, the problem of 8 tails will be solved. Jinchuriki's status in each village is similar. They are the strongest weapons in the village, but they are weapons in the eyes of high-level officials, and monsters in the eyes of civilians. No one regards them as normal people. Such as Uzumaki Maito is a complete example. The curse seal was originally progressing slowly, and with the current knowledge of Orochimaru, it was impossible to research it based on theoretical knowledge, but with Akaban's help. In just one day, he felt that he had seen the door of the curse seal. This guy. It was already evening, and the shadow clone had already disappeared automatically. But Orochimaru is not entangled with this. What he cares about is, why did Akaban take pains to lead him to discover the mystery of the curse seal? Orochimaru-sama, the sealing team is already in place, ready to assist with the sealing. All right. Orochimaru nodded, took a deep breath, extracted part of the power from the curse seal, and then used a special technique to penetrate the body of the Jashinists. These Jashinists are quite special. In order to ensure that the curse seal could be integrated, all the evil chakra in the Jashinist's body was removed, and then Orochimaru sealed the curse seal into one of the cultists. When his clone disappeared, Akaban felt it naturally. There weren't many important things happening right now, so he had no choice but to return to the comic shop to help his clones work together. After all, tomorrow's comics will also have a lot of updates of courses. The number will not increase, but the content needs to be original to a certain extent. Because the next scene of Pain invading all the way and killing ninja in Konoha and finally using Shinra Tensei to clear the field. Danza has a lot of appearances here, but now they are all replaced by Mitokado Homura. To match Mitokado Homura's sinister appearance, he repainted the manuscript several times and did not really complete the update of this book until the evening, and the effect of the painting is quite good. In these 10 chapters, Danza's appearance was only seen when he was talking to Yutatane Koharu, and there were no more pictures. However, no matter how limited they appear in the plot, some readers will still feel their strong presence in the story. And Danza is just such a person. In order to check the effect of the modified comics, Akaban got up very early the next day. At this time, the comic is probably not delivered to Konoha yet. Even so, there are already many people sitting in the small tea room at the entrance. Not all of them made a special trip to wait for the update, but more came here to drink juice, tea. This has become a daily activity for many people. Akaban is considering opening a chess and card club next to the small tea house to bring the quintessence of the past life to the world of ninja, but he has some worries and the venue is not big enough. In addition, there are more projects on hand. So it's postponed for now. It is worth mentioning here that Kosuke has already sent 2 wooden sculptures. One is the second Hokage, Senju Tobirama, and the other is the infant version of the protagonist of Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto. For this reason, Akaban has to summon a shadow clone to color the figurine. For this reason, the task of updating has been aggravated, and the next 10 chapter updates are not easy to draw. Various complex battle scenes are quite difficult. Of course. The main thing is that the climax of Naruto and One Piece arrived together. The story of Pain's invasion of Konoha is wonderful and the style of painting is complicated. The same is true on Judicial Island. The characters, buildings, and more characters are not less than those on Naruto. To this end, each shadow clone has worked hard, except for the main body. A lazy pig. It was really difficult to change him for a while, but the shadow clones didn't expect him to change anyway. It was already a miracle for him to help them even if it's a little. After all, this lazy pig was incapable at first, but now he is willing to draw 2 or 3 chapters a day at least. What else can they expect? From morning to noon, Akaban finished the 2 chapters of One Piece with boredom. At this time, Izumi Yamano finally delivered the comic book printed today, and the guards took out a box of comics from the car. Without them, there are already many ninjas to get the comic book. Everyone. It doesn't matter, they will pay for it anyway. Yamano Izumi wanted to stop them from taking it but was stopped by Kurama Yunlang. How much do these comics cost? Nowadays, most of the real income comes from fruit juice snacks, and comics only make some incidental profits. Besides, if Konoha's people don't know who this comic shop belongs to, maybe they will be asked to go to Anbu for some drinks tomorrow. With the help of the readers, 2 or 3 boxes of comic books do not need to be settled, which greatly reduces the workload. Hearing that the comic was delivered, Akaban walked around after using transformation techniques and sat down in a small tea shop to see what other people thought of today's content. Everyone's opinion is related to Akaban's next plan for Danza's role. For this reason, he and the clone first drew One Piece without Naruto. Anyway, he get up early, there was still half a day left. The first person who sat in the small tea shop had already got the comic and started to read it first. The beginning of the article is the 2 sides chucking into battle. It's the scene where Mitokado Homura argues with Danza and Utatane Koharu. However, as soon as the first chapter was read, there was a snicker in the small tea house, making Akaban confused. He wondered if there is any funny content in these 10 chapters. What are you laughing at? Akaban couldn't help but lean to the side to ask about the situation. This. The reader who laughed hesitated a little and looked inside the room with some fear. He is afraid of Akaban. At this time, a straightforward brother on the side said, "It looks like Mitokado Homura-sama did it in the comic." In fact, everyone knows that it was Lord Danza's idea. Because no matter how you look at it, Mitokado Homura. Hey, pay attention to your words. The Chunin on the side pulled the man a bit. Although Mitokado Homura had fallen from power and was locked up in the Anbu, the Homura family was still not a small family, so having a civilian being blunt about it is still not good. No matter how you look at it, it's all done by Master Danza. The Chunin whispered. Mitokado Homura-sama is also very strong, but more likely. In certain decisions, this kind of decisive and resolute plan really doesn't match him. When someone started, everyone immediately began to agree and speak. So what they wanted to say was, Mitokado Homura has no policy ideas of his own and does not have the guts to do such things. It seems the name of Danza and his personality is well known by everyone. Akaban sighed from the bottom of his heart. In this way, he could only apologize to his teacher in his heart. After thinking about it, he had a plot in his mind, ready to leave and go back to draw follow-up content. At the Anbu, Danza got up early, and after dealing with a bunch of chores, he just took a break, naturally thinking of yesterday's comic in his mind. According to time, it should have been updated today. So he called his subordinates over and asked if there were today's updates. Danza had previously ordered that unless he was on official duties, the comic updates should be delivered as soon as possible, so it didn't take long for an Anbu ninja to bring the comic to his office. Danza picked it up and opened it, and soon saw the content of the first chapter. From a rational point of view, the decision of he and Utatane Koharu is okay. Akatsuki's goal is to catch the Kyuubi, so the way to make Akatsuki fail is to prevent the other party from getting the Kyuubi. The surest choice is undoubtedly to hide Naruto. It happens that Naruto is in Mount Myoboku, which is a great hiding place. There is no need to call Naruto back. Of course. From the perspective of trusting Naruto to defeat pain, Tsunad's decision is correct, and doing so can save the lives of the villagers as much as possible. For the two-phase choice, Danza is more in favor of the Mitokado Homura approach. Although he does not think that Mitokado Homura can be so courageous when faced with such problems. When he saw this, he couldn't help but pause for a while, then raised his head and asked, "How do other people in the village think about this?" Lord Danza, this. The Anbu ninja hesitated. "Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything because of these things. If I get angry about these, the people I want to arrest are probably all over the shinobi world." Danza knew the concerns of his subordinates. Most people mean that Lord Homura does not have the courage and determination. Mostly you are directing behind the scenes, and you are the secret mastermind who really disagrees with Naruto's return. The Anbu said quietly as he spoke. However, Danza has been fully prepared. After all, looking at the situation of his subordinates, he knows that others have no good comments. He nodded slightly, then waved his hand and said, "Okay, I see, you go down and do your own thing first." Yes. It's hard to tell Danza's feelings from the outside, and this Anbu didn't dare to look at Danza's face at the moment. Hearing that he was asked to leave, he immediately retreated. After the Anbu leave, Danza sat in the position, tapped his fingers on the desk, and flipped the pages of the book with his other hand. After reading the last page, he started thinking. When the village really encounters such a thing, will he protect himself or rush to do his best to save the village? Judging from the comics, Pain's abilities are unknown, and they are almost invincible in a short period of time, and the people in the comics can't beat them. Even if Danza came out, he would not end up better than Kakashi. After all, the enemy has the Rinnegan. Then the choice is made, whether to be a hero for a second or to choose to stay safe. The fate of each generation of Hokage is to sacrifice themselves for Konoha and to protect the villagers. Even the most recent Hokage, Tsunade in the comic, did this. Be a guardian or preserve his strength. This is so similar to the question given by his teacher, the second Hokage. After many years, Danza still cares about that matter very much. He thinks that by choosing again, he can make the choice of Saru to be Hiruzen, but at this moment, thinking about it, he probably still can't do it. It's hardest to recognize yourself, and it's even harder to admit your own flaws. What's more, Danza has always been obsessed with Hokage's position, but at this moment, facing this multiple-choice question, he understood. "Teacher, you didn't choose the wrong one. Hiruzen is more suitable for Hokage than me, and I am only suitable for being in the dark." The power of the Rinnegan shocked the villagers. Can destroy the village in one go. Although it would consume life, it would be too scary to clear the Konoha village in one breath. If Akaban didn't talk with Hiruzen before about this, he would definitely be invited again to the Konoha building for a cup of tea. When Hiruzen saw this Shinra Tensei, he felt that Akaban was suggesting something. Sometimes Akaban didn't imply, but others didn't think so. This is true for Hiruzen, and so is Madara and Black Zetsu. The Black Stick Madara developed a few days ago, and the specific ability of the Black Stick is resolved in the next second. Yesterday, Madara just mentioned that he would throw an enhanced Shinra Tensei. But today, the large-scale Shinra Tensei appeared in the comic, and even the side effects were accurately drawn. Although Black Zetsu's strategy of messing up trouble failed, but Madara, seeing this, was uncomfortable for a second, especially seeing the side effect of using it. It will consume life. Do I still have a lot of lifespans? So he looked at Black Zetsu's eyes even worse. Madara also substitutes himself for the identity of pain, imagining this battle if he attacked Konoha. But he just thought about it. Uzumaki Maito is still alive, and swaggering into Konoha like pain is undoubtedly looking for death. Of course. This is because Madara is old, but if it's him when he was 10 years ago, he already attacked Konoha directly. Only when he got old, he also regretted his life even more. Before his ideal was realized, Madara didn't want to fall when his plan was in the last phase, especially because he was impatient and stupid. However, it is gratifying that the Sand Village has already had an initial conflict with Konoha. As long as it continues to evolve, a war is inevitable, and this is what he expects to see. At the same time, Madara is also considering the issue of the demonic statue of the outer path. Sooner or later, he will have to summon the demonic statue of the outer path. But if he wants to summon it directly, he needs chakra. Madara doesn't fully trust Black Zetsu, so he has not acted, especially after reading the comic. His trust for Black Zetsu that was on 1 became .1, almost hitting negatively. How to reduce the consumption of summoning the demonic statue of the outer path has become a very distressing problem for Madara. At the moment, maybe it is a good plan to use Hidden Sand Village. But there is also another way. And it's the Eight Tails Jinchuriki. From Black Zetsu, he learned the latest news about Eight Tails Jinchuriki once again lost control and went berserk, but was finally sealed by the third Reikiju. And it seems the new Jinchuriki this time is a child. At the Hidden Cloud Village. Stared at a stack of comics on his desk. He wanted to get angry but didn't know who to vent his anger. The reason why the deceased Jinchuriki ran away has been found. Yes, it's because of this set of comics. Most of Jinchuriki's life is dark, and the Eight Tails Jinchuriki in Hidden Cloud Village is even more so. Before Killer Bee, Hidden Cloud Village has been unable to control the Eight Tails, and no one can let the Eight Tails surrender. It can be said that in the short 10 years after getting the Eight Tails, Hidden Cloud Village has been destroyed dozens of times because of it. No one is used to working with time bombs. So firstly, Jinchuriki's experience can be imagined. Under such circumstances, if such a book suddenly appeared, telling Eight Tails Jinchuriki about the lifestyle of other village Jinchuriki, he would surely feel sour. So he ran away but died along the way. The most troublesome thing at the moment is not how the previous Jinchuriki handles it, but what attitude he will have to treat the new Jinchuriki and this set of comics. In A's eyes, this comic called Naruto is undoubtedly a thought poison. It carries a strong Konoha thinking, but considering the national conditions of the Hidden Cloud Village, Konoha's thinking is mechanically applied here, and the end will only be greater destruction. Because no one can really control the Eight Tails. At least for now, Hidden Cloud Village still lacks someone like Killer Bee. Lord Reikage, the final seal has been completed. An Anbu ninja appeared. I pondered for a while and then asked, I remember that the new Jinchuriki is the child named Fukai. He has very good blood, character and talent. Yes. The Anbu ninja bowed his head. I announced to the other people in the village that Fukai will be my disciple from today. He usually studies and trains as usual, but I will let Fukai live in my home after school. I said slowly. The Anbu ninja suddenly looked up at Reikage in surprise, accepting a Jinchuriki as his disciple, and let him live in Reikage's house in the future. This. About the elders, I will talk about it. The third generation Raikage glanced at him lightly, then waved him to leave. Comics have advantages and disadvantages. It lets the eight-tailed Jinchuriki know the outside situation, and it can also inspire a Fukai is an out-and-out genius. His ability can definitely suppress the eight tails. So what they are lacking is not strength but care, and needs Iruka and Jiraiya belonging to Fukai. The third Raikage turned and looked at the devastated Cloud Village, and the thoughts in his heart became firmer. Fukai, I want you to be the Cloud Village Naruto, not an eight-tailed Jinchuriki. There is a good saying. Good things do not go out, bad things spread thousands of miles. The story of Hidden Cloud Village Eight Tails Berserk was quickly learned by many ninja villages. Although the Eight Tails frequently berserk before, it is not surprising that most of these things are not surprising, but when the insider was dug up, several villages with Jinchuriki felt nervous. For example, the Hidden Waterfall Village. Among the several villages with tail beasts, Hidden Waterfall Village is the weakest one. Although the Seven Tails Chomir is not much stronger, its chakra is the third most effective. So if their Jinchuriki runs away, everyone suddenly became vigilant, but their approach was different from that of the third Raikage. The third Raikage had had many dealings with Jinchuriki, especially the desperate one, and learned a profound lesson. He knew the truth of blocking is worse than dredging, but Hidden Waterfall Village obviously didn't recognize this. They chose to enclose the seven-tailed Jinchuriki and prevent him from contacting the outside world. In short, the Eight Tails incident caused many countries with Jinchuriki to avoid comics and regard it as a poison to instigate the Jinchuriki to run away and go berserk. Of course, this does not include Shukaku's Jinchuriki, because now Shukaku Jinchuriki is Zack. He is Kazekage of Hidden Sand Village. The comic's threat to Jinchuriki, when Akaban learned it from Danza, he was also shocked as he didn't expect it. It can only be said that the village does not regard Jinchuriki as a human being, which causes these Jinchuriki to burst out of mind when they see how the Jinchuriki in the comic was treated. In this regard, he had to say something. Good job, me. Danza, who sent the information to Akaban, also felt the same as Akaban. That's why he sent him the news to share his happiness. Akaban originally thought that Danza would talk to him about slandering him. But he didn't receive any message about it, so he didn't ask why. He mustn't have known about it. It's impossible not to know it. As Konoha Minister Anbu, the pile of intelligence scrolls every day on his desk is not fake, so he must know these, so Akaban has the feeling of punching cotton. This is not the same as imagined. But since Danza didn't care, he continued to paint according to his own ideas. Originally, the update sent today should have Danza's Hokage declaration. However, because the route leader has changed candidates, the plot needs to be adjusted accordingly. Akaban's choice is that in the next volume, Danza will appear as a behind-the-scenes boss, sending part of the Anbu ninja and sneak attacks on Pain. But he himself will not appear. It's the villain anyway, how could he die with all his responsibilities? Since Danza himself didn't care, Akaban didn't have the slightest pressure as he painted, and the efficiency was more than doubled. In the past half of the afternoon, the rest of Naruto was finished. At this moment, the coloring of the wood carving figurines is also completed. Coloring is delicate work. In particular, Kosuke's wood carvings are perfect, so Akaban's coloring shouldn't be worse. Although Naruto's hasn't been fully painted yet, the wood carving of the second Hokage has been completed. This is a non-sale item with extraordinary significance. Akaban took it out and placed it on the cabinet of the small tea house. In the small tea room, everyone originally discussed spiritedly, each airing their own views about Mitokado Homura, Danza and Pain plot, but when they saw Akaban coming out of the comic shop, the audience fell silent for a moment. For Akaban, they are more afraid of him. After all, he is a disciple of Danza. It doesn't seem good to talk about this in front of his teacher. But then, everyone quickly noticed the wooden sculpture in his hand, its fine appearance, and looked like a small version of the second Hokage from a distance. The temperament, appearance and details are perfect. Hi, Akaban, who made this thing? Sell or not? Don't be a clown, how could this kind of art be sold? This is the first finished wood carving figurine. Neither the carving nor the coloring process can be compared with the latecomers. With its collection value, the price is too high without thinking about it. Although ninjas are high-income industries, they are above the upper ninja class, and the middle and lower ninjas are not so rich in income. Therefore, most of the people here are just asking with curiosity. But it's really beautiful. Everyone's eyes glow a little, and many people want to come over and touch them, but they are frightened when they think of the value of this thing. In case of bumps or damage, they can't afford to compensate for it. This wood carving figure comes from a senior Kosuke. And I did the coloring work. The first batch is not for sale, but there will be some wood carving figures for sale in the future. You can pay attention to it if you have money. In addition, our engravers are not only senior Kosuke but also Gecko Yaha of the Gecko clan. Out of their personal wishes, we will use 70% of the proceeds from the wood carving for charity and public welfare. The main purpose of the charity foundation is to support war orphans. After Akaban introduced the wood carving figurine, he talked about the foundation again. This is very important. Because most of the people here are civilians, many of them are not even ninjas, they or some people they know definitely need help. After hearing the news, the audience was boiling. At first, everyone was excited to hear that it would sell, but then it was because of the charity foundation news. Everyone has never heard of this term, but the detailed policies that follow are fully understood. Help those gifted but resource-constrained poor and war orphans, subsidize families displaced by war to relocate, help families with children who died in war, and so on. These are all good things for the common people. I heard that Yiwu is coming today too. I don't know if she has brought some comics back. In Land of Rivers, Sakumo and Murasaki's team acted. Leave the comic alone. Kill the mission target. Anyway, your son can't die. Murasaki jokes. Kakashi is a teacher led by a protagonist. No matter what, Kakashi shouldn't die. Besides, is it time to care about comics now? This is a mission. The target to be assassinated is the Sand Ninja Elite team led by Chunin. This team assassinated two four-man teams in Konoha by ambushes and sneak attacks. The most important thing is that Sakumo claimed that two of them were enough and that they did not wait for Yiwu and Yaishin to arrive before leaving the mission. At this moment, shouldn't the plan be carefully discussed? Murasaki secretly complained in his heart. Kakashi, what you said is not necessarily true. Pain will definitely be on the attack, and he may be the first to die. Sakumo had accepted that Kakashi is his son's setting, but his answer was not impeded by it. But when he thought he was still on the mission, he resisted not thinking about comics anymore. It's a pity that he didn't read today's update for the first time. But now, the task is up. Suddenly, he saw four figures appearing in the distance. In the next second, Sakumo made gestures in Anbu sign language. You first go up to attract their attention, I will assassinate the opposite Jonin. Okay. After Murasaki replied, he quietly lurked to the other side. His lurking skills are superb, but at this moment, he deliberately exposed some flaws to let the other party notice him. As the Jonin of Hidden Sand, the captain of this team quickly heard the movement and raised his vigilance while quietly commanding his puppet to sneak attack Murasaki, which is a technique often used by Hidden Sand Village. However, when they manipulated the puppets to outflank Murasaki, a blade of light suddenly broke through the air. Not good. The Sand Jonin was shocked, turned his head and saw a blade flying in the sky under the moonlight, and quickly used the puppet to resist. In the next second, a silhouette jumped out from the dark and went all the way to kill, holding two lightning blades. Thunder light flashed, and the flying thunder blade into one piece. The thunder blade and fangs attract each other under the action of lightning-style chakra. Clack! Thunder and lightning fluttered between the blades, instantly paralyzing the two elite Chunin. As the blade zaps, two heads fell from their body. As for the Jonin, shaved, Chidori blade. The twins' word, which is fast as lightning, was avoided, but the Hidden Sand Jounin is surprised to see Sakumo's finger sticking out a lightning finger gun, which hits his brow. It's a Chidori and finger gun. The Sand Jounin remembered a scene from a comic book in his mind, but there was no way to avoid it. The figure staggered, there was an extra wound on his neck, and his body slowly fell. However, at this time, there is still an elite Chunin who is alive. When Sakumo was exhausted, he immediately controlled 4 or 5 puppets to get out of the soil and surround Sakumo. But at this moment, the flying blade that was controlled by Chakra Silk Thread tried to kill the puppet master. But the opponent dodges the attack while quickly backing away. It was just a moment of distraction, but Sakumo escaped from the gap with a moon step and instantly reached him. Before Murasaki made a move, the fourth ninja was also beheaded. The young elite lay on the ground, with fatal stab wounds in his throat and burn marks from Chidori, and his face was a bit similar to Kyo. My role is to attract their attention. But isn't your strength too exaggerated? Murasaki smiled bitterly. Sakumo's strength has improved too fast, and he can't keep up at all. Although Sakumo has taught him some tips about the 6 style during this period, the gap is still huge. Compared with Akaban, how can my strength be like what you said? It's him who can control 4 or 5 puppets at the same time, and he is much younger than us, he must be a very great puppet master in time. Sakumo then looked at the last corpse of Chunin with some regret. This is war, and he looks 2 or 3 years older than us. What is there to sigh? Don't sigh, take the corpse and go. Okay. How can there be undead in war? Entering the quagmire of the battlefield, they are ready to die and sacrifice at any time. This is the case for him, and the same is true for Sakumo, so the two chose to evacuate only with a little emotion. Neither Kyo nor Konoha knew the news that Kyo's son was killed, and even Kyo didn't know that her son was transferred to Land of Rivers. No one knows who gave the order, but it should be the third Keisuke Zack, or to be exact Black Zetsu and Madara. After all, this order was meant by them, and Zack was just a controlled person. They know that Kyo is very prestigious, and Kyo and Ibizo are 2 points that cannot be avoided if they want to really go to war with Konoha. If they want to eliminate the voice of opposition, Kyo must also firmly support the war. This young ninja, it was in this situation that he accepted the task of assassinating Konoha ninja. At this time in Konoha, everyone's attention was not on the front line. It would not have caused such a big disturbance if it was just a wood-carving figure, but when it was equated with a charity foundation, many people noticed this small wood-carving artwork, including the third Hokage. He knew that Akaban persuaded Kosuke before, but he didn't know what conditions he promised. Only now the third Hokage did he know that Kosuke didn't even want the profit of wood-carving. So this must be Akaban's idea. Kosuke had a dead brain, and if he could come up with these weird things, he wouldn't have spent so many years on his regrets. It was only now that he was relieved. However, as Konoha's Hokage, he must express his approval for this kind of cause. Even if it is just a charity organized by Akaban, Kosuke, and Gekko Yaha, they must strongly support it and provide some policy convenience. For example, the first wood carving. The first wood carving is not for sale, but as the Hokage of their village, he is an exemption. So when Hiruzen heard the news, he immediately came forward in person and bought the first one at a very high price, and expressed his support for charity forever. The charitable foundation's work was handed over to the business people of the Kurama clan. Even so, Akaban still took a lot of time for various handovers and initial transaction processing during the period, and it was already dark when he finished the foundation. However, thanks to this, the charity is extremely efficient. On the second day, the first batch of funding lists was released. With the third Hokage funded funds, the first funding can be issued on the same day. There is no need to pay attention to Akaban. In the ninja world, money does not mean everything. At the same time, there are village ninjas, civilians, and Kurama Yunlane to monitor the accounts. He believes that the people in charge of the charity will not see money open to that point. When he arrived at the small tea house, there were only Tsunade and a handful of readers, which was far from yesterday. Originally, he wanted to leave a clone and intended to go back to rest. But Tsunade is here. Obviously, if he pretended not to see her there was nothing good that would happen later for sure. So Akaban walked out of the lounge after he left clones to work and sat down in front of Tsunade. Do you want some drinks? No need to. Tsunade raised the juice glass in her hand, indicating that she had just drunk a large glass. Akaban sat down and talked to her for a while. The topic was nothing more than how she is free today. Tsunade answered one by one, and then she took out a scroll from her waist. This is a scroll with a sealing effect. The seal was made by Uzumaki Maito. She put it on the table, opened the scroll, and then moved it to Akaban and said, "Remember the creation rebirth mentioned in your comic? Have you researched it out?" Akaban was surprised. Uzumaki Maito's sealing technique was relatively difficult. Even if he couldn't unlock it, he could only guess based on Tsunade's words. Tsunade nodded, pondered for a few seconds, and said, "I read your comics yesterday and today. Did you finish this technique very early?" Akaban nodded stiffly. He knew that this could not be hidden from Tsunade. "I see." Tsunade wasn't angry, but just smiled and felt relieved. Immediately afterwards, she said, "But it's all right. I know it's for my safety. Although I can't practice Sage Mode now, I have medical ninjutsu, which can save more companions, and it's already good." Ridiculously speaking, Tsunade's idol at this time was actually the Tsunade in the comic. She feels that if she wants to be such a female ninja in the future, she is worthy of boasting, of course, except for the life experience of a lone star. It's best that you think so. Akaban breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Tsunade would go to learn Sage Mode with her current knowledge. It's not that the Sage mode is not strong, but it's really unnecessary, and it's not that there is no way to deal with Madara. When Tsunade heard him, she suddenly laughed, and leaned over and asked, "Hey, tell me the truth, when you painted the comic yesterday, did Uncle Danza invite you to have a tea on the Anbu, so you gave him a positive part today?" Of course not. The teacher has always been thinking of the well-being of Konoha, and being a Hokage is only his incidental pursuit. Akaban's face was not red and his heartbeat didn't skip fast, as he lies with a straight face. In today's update of the comics, Danza made a brief appearance. Danza ordered some of his Anbu to find Pain's body, although Kanon intercepted and killed them all, but somehow he played a role. From Tsunade's point of view, it must have been Danza who was furious after reading it yesterday and summoned Akaban to have a chat. In fact, this is the opinion of most readers. Although there are not many readers who have read the update, many comments have been left on the comment board, and a few mentioned that Master Danza can't be so justice. Of course, this is just ironic ridicule. In fact, Danza's performance in the comics is definitely not justice, but a criminal conspirator who took advantage of the chaos, regardless of the safety of the village in order to obtain the Hokage position. However, just after the Uzumaki War, Danza's sacrifice for Konoha is obvious to all ninjas of this generation. He cannot be called bright and great, but he is definitely not disgusting to the point that was portrayed in the comics. Including Tsunade too. She hates it, but from the bottom of her heart, she knows that Danza in reality is on the correct path, unlike in the comic. Tsunade had to send the Creation Rebirth to Hokage Building and had to go to the hospital to see if she was needed for surgery, so after staying for long, she chatted with Akaban for a while and got up and left. However, Akaban did not get his expected rest time. Because after Tsunade left, an Anbu ninja came after her. And this Anbu came in a hurry. Instead of leaving a mark according to Akaban's previous regulations, he appeared directly in the store and asked Akaban to go to Anbu in person. Only when there are urgent things, the Anbu ninja will do it. The Anbu ninja also had to inform the third Hokage, so when he disappeared, Akaban flew to the Anbu base without hesitation and hurried to the place where Danza was. Danza is not in his office, but at Anbu's emergency information transmission and reception area. He is sitting in the middle and his face is very ugly, and the atmosphere in the whole place is very heavy. "Teacher, what happened?" Akaban walked to the side, did not dare to speak loudly, but asked in a low voice beside Danza. Danza sighed and made a gesture to ask Akaban to follow him, and the two of them walked towards the office together. After arriving at the office, he sat down and said, "I got news from the front line. In the Sand Ninja team that Anbu assassinated yesterday, there was a puppeteer who was suspected to be Kyo's son." Kyo's son. Akaban was stupefied after hearing that. In his memory, Kyo had only one son, so the one who died should be Sasori's father. This is a problem. This is Kyo's treasure. The most important thing is that Sasori was not born yet. He took a deep breath and asked cautiously, "I want to know, Kyo-san's husband. He died at the hands of Stone Ninja during the war." Danza clutched his blind eyes, and slowly revealed information about Kyo's husband. Akaban sat down, was dull for a few seconds, and then asked, "What did you do?" "It's Sakumo and Murasaki, to be precise. Sakumo killed them alone." Danza leaned his head. Originally, according to his plan, with the help of Ibizo, he could find out what Madara had done to Zack, and he would be able to fight back at a critical moment. But with this move, he really didn't expect it. When Kyo's son died, a small-scale war was inevitable. Who made her the Hidden Sand Village Consultant Elder, and also currently one of the most powerful ninjas in Hidden Sand Village. Although Ebizo also has the right to speak, it is clearly not enough to compete with Kyo and Zack. Besides, there is Black Zetsu in the dark. Kyo hid his son very well, and basically did not let him participate in the foreign war. We didn't have any information about him before. But through Yamanaka clan's secret jutsu, we knew that he was Kyo's son. Danza sighed for a while, then looked up at Akaban. His eyes are simply asking, what do you think? What thoughts could Akaban have? The hatred of killing children, and the hatred of severing children and grandchildren, both of them have caught up in one trip. Looking at his expression, Danza knew that Akaban was helpless. He reluctantly smiled and said, forget it, it's useless to regret now. We don't have Naruto's eloquence and Kyo will not let go of this hatred, and we are ready to fight. Everything is possible in war. Even Kyo's son could be killed on the battlefield. And it's impossible for Konoha to hand over Sakumo, so they will fight. But Danza's headache is how to fight. It must be Madara and Black Zetsu being behind the scenes. They deliberately let Kyo's son go to the battlefield. The purpose is to further expand the conflict between us and the Sand Village. If we go to full-scale war with Sand Village, their goal will succeed. Akaban said quickly. With Konoha's current strength, it may not be impossible to destroy the Hidden Sand Village. But for one thing, Konoha will suffer heavy losses, which will give other ninja villages a chance. Secondly, the other 5 major villages will definitely not just watch having the balance break. When the time comes, the Land of Rivers War will trigger a large-scale war across the ninja world or a bloody battle unanimously against Konoha. Madara's goal is still Tailed Beast. As long as ninja world becomes chaotic, he will have the ability to fish in troubled water. And if he succeeded, it would be more difficult to deal with him then, but how can Danza not understand this? But now the problem is how to break the game. Akaban originally wanted to go to the front line to read the information of the dead ninja within the body with the power of the human realm in Rinnegan, but then he thought that these tasks had been completed by the Yamanaka clan. Moreover, even knowing more will not help. Madara didn't show up directly, and most of Hidden Sand's ninja didn't know his existence at all. This kind of rhetoric would only make the other major villages think that Konoha was planning something. And no one at Konoha can solve this problem. If you have time, help me go to the front line to see the situation there. By the way, Konoha will stand behind them, so they don't have to worry. Yes. Danza sighed and pulled out the comic book from under the table. It's better to read the comics first to calm down, and only when you calm down can you think about more perfect countermeasures. He opened the comic book and then became even more depressed. There are a lot of problems in reality, and the issues of hatred and peace are still being discussed in the comics. Some parts of Payne's remarks are correct. Hatred is not so easy to eliminate. The simple sentence for peace absolutely no one will pay attention to. And what's happening to them right now is Madara's open plot, so even if Danza, Hiruzen, Akaban and even Ebizo knew it, they still couldn't stop the war from happening. This is the power of hatred. But Chibaku Tensei. Is this the power of the Rinnegan? He opened a scroll, which recorded the Rinnegan Dojutsu quoted by Mount Myobaku Fukasaku sage. Danza looked through it carefully and finally found the record of the Chibaku Tensei. The highest ceiling technique that can create the moon. It's amazing. Fortunately, Madara seems to be hesitant. Otherwise, Konoha can't stop it at all. No, in the world of Shinobi, no one can stop Madara. The more you know the opponent's strength, the more fear and despair you feel. Danza took a deep breath and adjusted his mentality. They are not without advantages. Although the Hidden Sand Village is controlled by Madara, Hidden Stone Village leans against Konoha because of their Jinchuriki's breakout. In addition, the attitude of Hanzo and Hidden Cloud Village. Supporting Konoha is impossible, but at least Madara's news must be spread. They won't believe it for a while, but when there are signs in the future, they will spontaneously unite to deal with Madara. After all, Konoha being strong wouldn't disturb the ninja world balance, but if Madara was able to get all the tailed beasts. Thinking of this, Danza gradually had an idea to hold a hidden secret meeting to make Madara's information public. Since he needs it to be hidden, he doesn't know if the Dream Tapper family can do it. After having thought of it, Danza immediately became excited, wishing to summon his Dream Tapper and ask questions immediately, but thinking of his Dream Tapper back, he sighed and stopped. There is no doubt that the real Dream Tapper only favors ninjas who master illusions. And Shimura Danza is not worthy. Forget it, let's wait until Akaban comes back. At the front line in the land of River. Sakumo, you really are his father. You know your son very well. You know Kakashi must have died first without reading the comics. Idiot. It's not that I have a deep understanding of my son. It's character speculation. You don't even know this point. When we go back, I will suggest to teacher Shimura to throw you into the country of water and train again. Sakumo scolded indifferently. Don't. Murasaki quickly begged for mercy. Regardless of how old Sakumo is, he is also a disciple of Danza, but his identity is already the captain of their team, and he possesses the powerful strength of an elite Chunin. If Sakumo speaks, he will be transferred to the water country to deal with the cultists. On their side, Yiwu and Yaishin sigh helplessly, staring at them and saying, "You really don't care, that's the son of Kyo. It's useless for us to worry, just wait for the above order." Murasaki shrugged. Of course, he is worried about it, but it already happened and they can't revive a dead person. Instead of worrying about their future uselessly, it's better to read more comics now, so as not to experience that kind of thing and regret that the comics have not been finished. Sakumo shook his head, not thinking that their teacher would do that. He was about to speak, but he suddenly sensed a wave of fluctuations, and immediately got up and stayed away from Murasaki to make a clearing. Murasaki reacted slightly later. But when Akaban appeared, he also reacted immediately. "Oh, everyone is here, so I will make a long story short. The teacher said that you don't have to worry, Konoha stands behind you." After talking and looking around for a while, Akaban was about to walk outside the tent. But the group of ninja inside the tent froze for a moment. This is really a long story short. After coming back to his senses, Shin said in surprise, "Really? That's what the teacher said. By the way, where is the corpse? I'll take you there." Sakumo walked up to Akaban and took the lead to walk to another tent. The tent seemed to be a meeting room, but there was a hidden compartment under the central table of the meeting room. After decryption, the temporarily excavated basement was opened. Akaban followed, and saw Yamanaka Kazuhiro for the first time, and hurriedly bowed and saluted. "Hello, Senior Yamanaka, I am here to relay the message on the order of my teacher Danza. As the patriarch of the Yamanaka clan, Yamanaka Kazuhiro is the highest leader of this temporary base." After hearing this, he nodded and motioned Akaban to continue. This incident must be a trick by Madara. He has controlled the third Kazekage, so he can do this. It is useless to give in. Also, I want to see these corpses. Akaban didn't intend to do it at first, but since he is here, he wouldn't be reconciled if he didn't try his ability. No problem. Yamanaka Kazuhiro nodded. Sakumo watched on the sidelines, watching Akaban walk next to the corpse, then squatted down and closed his eyes. After a moment of silence, he felt something strange. Akaban seemed to have undergone a certain change, but he couldn't tell the specific changes, but before he thought about it, the strange feeling disappeared again. Afterwards, Akaban stood up with a thoughtful look. What have you found? Kazuhiro Yamanaka asked. I didn't find anything, but it's a pity, he died. Hidden Sand Village still has room for consensus for us, but now it depends on God's will. Akaban answered as he got up. He didn't learn everything, but in fact, he found more clues than Kazuhiro Yamanaka. From the remaining memory, he discovered a fatal point. It seems Zack bypassed Kyo and bewitched Kyo's son to go to the battlefield. Akaban has no evidence, but Konoha has impure world reincarnation. With this evidence, as long as Kyo calms down, there is still room for communication. He pondered for a long time and said, this corpse needs strict custody. I will take it back to Konoha to avoid being taken away and destroyed. No problem. Yamaka Kazuhiro didn't stop it. In fact, if this corpse was left here, it would be a burden, but since someone will take it away, of course, he readily agrees. Thank you, Senior Yamanaka. Have you found it? When the two walked out of the basement, Sakumo asked in a low voice. As a teammate for many years, he saw something from Akaban's small movements. This guy definitely found something. Let's go further. Akaban didn't answer directly and went back to the team's tent with Sakumo. Yiwu and Shin went out on patrol and were not in the tent, only Murasaki was inside. When he sat down in the tent, he thought for a while and decided to reveal part of the content. According to my guess, Kyo may not know that her son is on the front line. And this should be the work of their Kazekage. Murasaki was stunned for a while and then realized that Akaban must have discovered the situation from the corpse. He only thought of it for a moment, and suddenly thought of Orochimaru in the comics, and immediately understood Akaban's intention. Sakumo's reaction was also quite fast. Zack's behavior was controlled by Madara. There was no evidence before. But right now, Kyo's son is a good piece of evidence. At the same time, Konoha has a forbidden technique for letting the dead start to talk, the impure world reincarnation. They glanced at each other, and finally, Sakumo asked, do you need our help? Just be careful of yourself, and pay more attention to Black Zetsu, nothing else. After Akaban stretched out, he took out 3 or 4 comics from his arms, one of which is the update of Naruto today, and the rest are the latest updates of One Piece. They have no entertainment here, so he can only bring some comics for them. After all, it's a base camp, so it's not sensible to make a fire pit and so on. And of course, the two are very happy. Comics are a treasure on the front line. It can be used to pass the time, relieve mental stress, etc. Basically, every ninja has several copies. Some have been read, but they still read it over and over again. Among them, Jiraiya's and Akaban adult books are the most popular. Of course, everyone understands the principle of task first, and will never let go of their vigilance and tasks because of comics. Even more so, such a major event, Hidden Sand Village will definitely retaliate. But to ensure their safety, their leader, Yamanaka Kazuhiro, does not plan to let them do frequent tasks. So they will be relatively idle during this period and have a lot of time to look at these things. After getting the comics, they stopped chatting with Akaban, each holding the comic, and it looked like Sakumo cares more about One Piece, while Murasaki read Naruto's updates for the first time. Murasaki didn't like Naruto much, he was just interested in Kakashi's follow-up plot. But it's a pity. Today, Kakashi did not appear in this book, only the battle between Naruto and Pain, and the fourth Hokage, who appeared in a few seconds. As for Pain dialogue, Murasaki didn't feel much about it. He positioned himself as a little pawn, just let him take the command from above. Whether the ninja world is peaceful or not is not a matter for him to decide, including the killing of Kyo's child this time. The task is like this. Is this what he can decide? Therefore, Murasaki was quite open to it, and when he was on the battlefield, he had to be prepared to be killed and to kill a lot of people, and it was impossible to say which day it would be his turn. Sakumo, on the other hand, accumulated a lot of chapters. So when he saw the middle stage of Judicial Island in one breath, although it didn't have much to inspire him, the plot was really exciting when he read it coherently. When they finished reading both volumes, Akaban chakra was almost recovered. Impure world reincarnation's matter must be resolved quickly, so he did not stay on the front line longer. He bid farewell to Sakumo and Murasaki, and then returned directly to Konoha using Flying Thunder God Jutsu. To ensure the safety of the corpse, he spent a lot of chakras, and when he returned to Konoha, even the chakras in the Yin seal were completely worn out. His chakra was exhausted, he almost fainted when he landed. However, Akaban knew that he had to bring the corpse to Anbu, and told Danza about impure world reincarnation to solve the problem. Although it is unavoidable that Sakumo killed Kyo's son, at least the truth of the matter must be made clear to them. At that time, whether they still want to wage war against Konoha, then waiting for their Kazekage to be harvested by Madara, or using Konoha's power to find a solution to their Kazekage manipulation is up to Kyo and Ebizo and their own wishes. Konoha does not cause trouble, but they ain't afraid of trouble. Arriving at Danza's office, Akaban told what he knew and Danza also readily agreed. Seeing that Akaban was so tired, he didn't let Akaban take a trip to the Hokage building, saying that he could do it personally and let Akaban take a rest by himself. Sarutobi Hiruzen is pedantic in some things, but when it is about survival, Hiruzen will not object because of these minor details. Akaban just went back to rest. Because his chakras consumption was too intense, the clones he had left in the comic shop room disappeared. Now that there is no chakra on hand, he can only wait for some recovery before summoning shadow clones. After eating and drinking, his stamina quickly recovered, and only after a short rest did he barely extract 3 shadow clones that could last for 1 or 2 hours. Afterwards, Akaban fell asleep in a chair. Sleep is the best way to replenish mental energy. By the evening, Akaban finally woke up. He slept very comfortably, but when he woke up, he found that the shadow clone disappeared automatically within 2 hours. The time was too short. One Piece has 5 chapters, but Naruto has only 2. This was a chaotic battle. There were a lot more lines to draw than before, and more effort was needed, so it disappeared early. Should I stop for now? Akaban only hesitated for a second in his heart, and then decisively decided to not update the chapter for tomorrow. There are too many things that happened in the past 2 days, and they also come up with a plan for Kyo's son. And Danza must have another counter plan that he needs to cooperate with. So today and tomorrow, he does not have much time to paint himself. Really. The next day, Akaban did not get up yet, but a ninja from Anbu was already waiting downstairs. It's obvious what he wants. Arriving at the Anbu headquarters, he walks to Danza's office. When Danza saw him, he motioned him to sit down and shared his thoughts with Akaban again. He hoped Akaban would ask the Dream Tapper if they could hold a meeting secretly through the Dreamland. Dreams and genjutsu are the most convenient and covert communication methods, provided that they can do so. But Akaban is also uncertain. What he calls most often is the little Dream Tapper, who is just as lazy as himself. Whether he starts to make progress is the result of being spurred by himself. But summoning those strong Dream Tapper. The Dream Tapper family dared to prove the 3 big unexplored sage regions, thinking that way, their ability should be also extraordinary. So Akaban summoned his little Dream Tapper, talked to him about it, and finally asked, if I use my genjutsu ability, with multiple Dream Tappers to perform the operation at the same time, can it pull those people into a dream state? I'm not sure, I'll go back and ask first. Little Dream Tapper knew whether it would work or not. So after hearing it, he was so scared that he immediately notified his elders. After a while, Akaban used his summoning jutsu again and the little Dream Tapper reappeared. It looked around and then said, it may not be convenient here, but it doesn't matter. Let's go into a dream and talk. After the little Dream Tapper said that, he drew Akaban into the dreamland of his creation, and then saw the expressionless Danza sitting in the dark. Little Tapper hesitated for a moment whether he take Danza or not, but he still take him into the dreamland even though it's uncomfortable for him. You are Akaban, it's no wonder that Brat Weaver won't let us answer your call. You really have a delicious spiritual energy. Just as Akaban came in, he saw 2 huge phantoms appear in front of him. He knew that these 2 should be the boss of the Dream Tapper family. The 2 big guys just boasted, and then said in surprise, hey, there is another one. Tilda. In the next second, their phantom bodies were a little distorted, and it even made Akaban think he saw their souls flying away. Immediately afterwards, Danza appeared in a dream. I see, it's you, you're Shimura Danza, this taste is very impressive. One of the big guys said when he was finally able to stabilize his phantom form. This means that its connection with this dream is firmly established again. Comparing Akaban's spiritual energy to top-notch food, then Danza is, cough. In short, it's disgusting. Yes. Danza was expressionless. How could he not know that these Dream Tappers were despising him? Otherwise Akaban wouldn't be treated so differently from him. Your request is that you hope that we can work together to create a huge illusion, drag people far away in other countries to a dream, and have a dream talk. This is difficult and requires huge spiritual energy to sustain it. One of the Dream Tapper bosses spoke up. It is difficult, but not impossible. Akaban figured it out for a while. The biggest problem they mentioned was mental energy. About this, Konoha had a solution. But from these Dream Tapper picky tastes, it's a different story. Danza did not hesitate, and immediately said, as long as you don't mind, our Konoha Shinobu village has sufficient manpower to provide spiritual energy. Cough cough cough, well, it's better to get a device to filter it. It's not enough to provide mental energy directly, but Akaban, you have to contribute mental energy for 2 days. How does the condition talk about me? 2 days of spiritual energy, are you kidding me? Okay, we agree. Danza did not give Akaban a chance to speak and directly agreed to the plan before a second. Thus, the dream was lifted. Akaban wanted to curse. Although the 2-day mental energy in those dream-to-per mouths give him a guarantee, he estimated that it would be guaranteed that in those 2 days, he can't get asleep for sure. In addition, chakra is derived from the fusion of physical energy and spiritual energy. Without spiritual energy, of course, there is no way to extract chakra. That means that in those 2 days, he is no different than a waste. What are you mulling with that kind of expression? It's just 2 days without sleep. TL/N, hello everyone, just want to ask something. If I update 2 chapters a day, will you give me one of your stones? F****KU. Akaban wanted to say this very much but thought about it. Although Danza didn't understand it, he still can infer what it meant from his tone and evil intent. Forget it it's just 2 days anyway, and for the comic updates, he can do it again 2 or 3 days later. Of course. The main reason is that he doesn't really want to paint. In the past, Akaban always relied on his clone to work to make progress, while he was just lazing around. But to suddenly lose his employers, how can he, the boss, do it himself? It is easy to change from frugality to luxury, but difficult to change from luxury to frugality. At the Hokage office, Hiruzen and Danza quickly reached an agreement and selected ninjas with higher spiritual energy from the whole village that day. Of course, the Yamanaka clan was the most. But there is a problem here. Most of the Yamanaka clan were transferred to the front line of the Land of River. Therefore, on the same day, Danza urgently recalled all members of the Yamanaka clan there, mobilizing Hatake Sagaki to be responsible for the overall warfare in the Land of River, and Sakumo was responsible for the temporary camp. Of course, this has nothing to do with Sakumo being a disciple of Danza, but Sakumo is indeed strong, and he is already an elite Chunin with supreme strength at a young age. Coupled with his military exploits in the war on the country of the Vortex, it is not difficult for him to temporarily govern the camp. If Akaban were not included, Sakumo had already come to the forefront among his peers. Early the next day, the Yamanaka clan rushed all night and finally returned to Konoha. For things like this, it should be sooner rather than later, otherwise, once it's late, no one knows what Madara and Black Zetsu will make. Others don't know the abilities of these 2 guys, but Danza knows it well. Although the major event should be sooner rather than later, the Yamanaka family has been on the road for so long, and their mental state has been greatly affected. So Danza gave them time to rest first before they start, or else, it is likely to affect the duration of the meeting. Thanks to this, Akaban was able to take a good rest and didn't get up on his bed until noon. The ceremony requires a lot of space, so it was not carried out in Anbu headquarters. Instead, it was chosen to be in the training field of the reserve department. There is a snake formation arranged by Orochimaru to monitor the surrounding area, plus the ninjas in the Anbu, so their safety can be foolproof. Without guessing, Akaban should be the last to arrive. By this time, Hiruzen and Danza are already in place, and a group of people are arranging a spiritual energy joint enchantment. The function of this enchantment is to maximize the use of spiritual energy. There are many people, not just from the Yamanaka clan, but the Uchiha, Hyuga, and Yori clans sent people, so the huge training ground is extremely crowded. When Akaban arrived, he took a look, and from his estimated guess, there should be 1,000 people. Although 1,000 people look like a lot, actually it's not. Due to the war on the Land of River, many ninjas were not in the village, otherwise, there are more than this number. Seeing him coming, Danza said a few words to the Anbu around him, then walked to Akaban and asked, "Is there any problem with you?" "No problem, my mental state has been adjusted to the best." After Akaban answered, he thought for a second or two, and then asked, "The Sand Hidden Village?" "Hiruzen, and my opinion are that it is best to bring Ibizo into the meeting, and Kyo's affairs happen to be ventilated with Ibizo ahead of time." Danza replied. "I understand, then I will communicate with the Dream to Per family." Akaban nodded and said. Afterwards, he summoned the little Dream to Per and asked it to use his dreams to communicate with his elders. The reason for not directly summoning the two big boss was that calling them would consume more chakras. According to Dreamweaver, one of the two big bosses is the patriarch of the Dream to Per family, the other is its father, and its strength is the strongest in the family. However, this kind of a large number of people and joint dreams cannot be achieved by two Dream Tapers alone. Those of the Dream to Per clan who have special abilities will basically participate in this action. From this perspective, the spiritual energy for 2 days is not much at all. But still, I will suffer from it. Little Weave Dreamer is still young, but his talent is not bad. With part of Akaban's power, it successfully pulled everyone in the training ground into the dreamland created by the Dream to Per family. This dream is very different. Akaban could feel that it seemed to exist between the real and the virtual, belonging to a completely unseen dream state. If he really wants to compare. Kind of like the Emerald Dream. Of course, it's not that strong, it's just a shame in nature. Little brat, you are looking for the Kij of the three kingdoms of earth, thunder, and water, the Anbu commander of Hidden Sand Village and the leader of Hidden Rain Village. At this time, a voice sounded. Akaban lowered his head and saw a Dream to Per smaller than Weave Dreamer, his Dream to Per. But unlike Weave Dreamer, it is very old and full of terrifying spiritual energy. Perhaps due to his terrifying spiritual energy, it suppresses the growth of the physical body, causing the body to be only that small. And judging from the aura of spiritual energy, it should be one of the two big bosses yesterday. But well, the image is a bit unexpected. Yes, please be careful at the Hidden Sand Village, because there is probably a creature with a strange existence over there. Akaban reminded. Black Zetsu has lived for too long, knowing a lot of things, and he probably knows the existence of Dream to Per too. That Black Zetsu mentioned in your comic. It's okay, I'll go there myself, and please use this technique to help them maintain a stable dream. After it finished speaking, it pointed to a short distance. Under the hill not far away, there lay a group of sleeping Dream Tapers. They are not really falling asleep, but going to sleep to maintain the turnover and personal search of the big dream. Although the Dream to Per is powerful, this is the first time they controlled this kind of big dream, so obviously they are not proficient at it, and needs the help of Akaban who is familiar with this kind of operation. Not long after, a figure appeared in the dream. Genjutsu. Reikija frowned slightly. He is very strong, but when it comes to Genjutsu, he is really not good at it. But in the next second, he saw Onaki, third Mitsukage and Hanza of the Salamander. It seems someone wants to talk to us. Hanza chuckled softly, guessing in his heart who did this. Danza, Saruta B. Hiruzen, I will leave if you don't show up when we're already here. Reikijari said impatiently. Ahem, don't be so impatient, everyone is not here yet. Saruta B. Hiruzen said as he appeared. If he doesn't show up, and with Reikija temper, he will definitely leave. Although A is not good at Genjutsu, he still has the ability to dispel dream genjutsu. The last. Is it the third Kazekage? Onaki frowned. Although they are all kage, Hidden Sand Village Kazekage is just a kid, and he has a big feud with Hidden Stone Village. So he is really not happy to have him chat with the third Kazekage. No, here he is. Sarutabi Hiruzen smiled and looked in a certain direction of the dreamland. In the next second, a figure appeared. Ibizo. It's the first time everyone tried to communicate in dreams, so Ibizo's appearance was a bit daunting, but people who saw the scene quickly reacted. Danza, hidden outside, did not come in. This meeting is a kind of kage level of communication. Also, in order to reduce mental energy consumption, the fewer people inside, the better, and the more people outside, the better. Seeing the crowds there, Sarutabi Hiruzen said with a light cough, using this method to call everyone here is mainly to avoid some people's prying eyes. Some people. In addition to the people here, who else can have an idea about Konoha? Reikijari said mockingly. Starting from Senju Hashirama, the Konoha, in the eyes of other ninja villages was being looked up to. Finally, when the Senju brothers finally died. As a result, Konoha was still very strong. Madara, Black Zetsu. Are these two people enough? Sarutabi Hiruzen chuckled softly, and then looked at Hanza again. Hanza, you said that you encountered Madara, but in fact, it is not Madara, but Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu. Onaki thought of the strange creature in the comic, and suddenly frowned slightly. Isn't that a fictional comic? The others obviously reacted in the same way. After all, the shape and the face of Black Zetsu was completely different from a normal person. Black Zetsu is a special existence. He can manipulate others in a certain way, and his concealment ability is very strong, and ordinary perception ability cannot detect him. Without him, Konoha would not be so scared. Sarutabi Hiruzen explained. It turns out that there is a second mastermind, so shaman. Ibizo gave a wry smile. As soon as Black Zetsu's ability was revealed, he understood everything. Obviously, the Anbu of the Hidden Sand Village didn't notice anyone sneaking in, but shaman still disappeared strangely. Wait, let me interject, Madara is still alive. Although it was a dream, Hiruzen felt that Reikichi's eyes seemed to be shining, but he could understand that he was very powerful, and he liked to challenge powerful enemies. He might be really happy to live in the era where Madara is alive. So Hiruzen threw the next bomb. Yes, Madara is alive, and he also awakened the Rinnegan. The other 5 people have a question mark on their faces at the same time, looking surprised and alarmed. Rinnegan. Isn't that the eyes of Sage of Six Paths? The most stressed person was Ibizo. He was fortunate that he didn't rush to do something, otherwise, he might become a part of the real version of pain. We didn't make the information public before, because we didn't know what Madara was going to do, and you didn't necessarily believe it, but now. Sarutabi Hiruzen smiled happily at Onaki and Ibizo. The four-tailed defection basically had a spectrum in the hearts of the major ninja villages, but they didn't say it clearly. But what happened in the Sand Village? The other 4 looked at Ibizo. Ibizo smiled bitterly and muttered helplessly, our third Kazekage is being controlled by Madara, and he has also become a Jinchuriki. 4 tails, then the 1 tail. If it were just a coincidence, Hiruzen would not have to hold this secret meeting. Everyone looked at each other and felt the pressure of a mountain. Hanza is a little bit empty. Although there are no tail beasts in Hidden Rain Village, Madara and Black Zetsu are understaffed, and they are not sure when they will be targeted. No one spoke for a while. After a long time, Onaki asked in a low voice, "Can the adult Mito-sama still fight?" Mito-sama still has combat power, but Madara's Rinnegan is very strong. Sarutabi Hiruzen shared Konoha's information on Madara's ability. At this time, he can't cheat others. Because the more other people restrain Madara, the better it will be for Konoha. That's it for this part, guys. Hope you like the video. Like, share and subscribe the channel. And also tell me in the comment section down below if you have any recommendation. Thanks for watching.